Howdy guys. In today's video, I'm going to be discussing UFC Moicano versus Denis. And before we get into the meat of this video, I'm going to preface this by saying this is my first time ever editing or recording a video, so if you have any tips or anything else to say, please comment down below. With that being said, let's talk about the first fight of the night, Bolaji Oki versus Chris Duncan. I'm going to be going with Bolaji Oki. I think he is a bit better of a fighter than Chris Duncan. Got more pop in his punches. He's way faster than Chris. Chris is slow as shit for lightweight. And I think he has better IQ. Chris is not that great of a fighter. I think he's kind of mid. So I think Bolaji will out-damage him to a decision. Next fight up the card is Nora Kronol versus Jacqueline Cavalcanti. I'm going to go with Nora Kronol, probably by split decision, maybe late TKO in the third round. Nora has a higher chance to finish the fight, and her wins inside the UFC I rate higher than Jacqueline's. This is also a short notice fight for Jacqueline. Nora was preparing for Germaine de Randamie, and I think Germaine is a much harder fight than Jacqueline, so I imagine she will be more prepared for this. So with that being said, going with Nora. Next fight up the card is Daniel Beirez versus Victor Altamirano. I'm going to be going Victor Altamirano by submission. I imagine there will be plenty of grappling exchanges for Victor to find an opportunity for a sub. I don't imagine Daniel will be able to TKO or submit Victor. Daniel doesn't have the greatest control when grappling, and Victor has a hell of a chin, got that Mexican chin. So yeah, I think Victor's going to find a sub. Next fight up the card is Aylin Perez versus Daria Kova. I'm not even going to try to pronounce her last name, I'll just butcher it. But I think Aylin is just going to wrestle her to a decision. Really not much to say about it. Daria's striking is alright, but I don't think her grappling is up to snuff with Aylin's. I think Aylin is just going to dominate it to a decision. Next fight up the card is Taylor Lapulus versus Vince Morales. I'm going to go Taylor Lapulus. I just think he has his ability to slow down a fight and kind of outpoint you to a decision will be the deciding factor here. He's got a really good jab, and he's got a 3-inch reach advantage. Even though he is at a height disadvantage, I think that's still going to cause problems for Vince. And so I imagine it will be probably a split. I don't think Vince is going to get completely ran through. He's actually pretty good himself. He's currently on like a 5-fight win streak outside the UFC. But I still think Taylor will find the win. Next fight up the card is Ludovic Klein versus Roosevelt Roberts. I think this is a complete layup for Ludovic. I think he is better in every single way than Roosevelt. I think he's much more acclimated to lightweight too. And I think he can win by however he wants. But if I had to pick, I imagine it will be a KO in the second. Next fight up the card is Umar Sy versus Dawoon Jung. At first, I was going to choose Dawoon Jung. I think his striking is pretty good, quite sneaky. But I'm so hesitant to choose against a guy who's undefeated. It's always tough because you don't know where they're weakest. You don't know how good his chin is. And we got to see how dominant his grappling is and how good his submission game is. And Dawoon Jung is shown to be susceptible to grappling and submissions. So with that being said, I'm going to choose Umar by late round 1 or middle of round 2 submission. Next fight up the card is Ion Cutelaba versus Ivan Erslan. I don't know anything at all about Ivan Erslan, but I do know that in my opinion, Ion Cutelaba is nearly fucking retarded. So I'm just going to have to go with Ivan. I mean, I cannot in good conscience choose Ion. He is just fucking unreliable. So yeah, I'm choosing Ivan. I'd via anything. Next fight up the card is Fares Ziem versus Matt Frevola. I'm going to have to go with the steamroller on this one. I enjoy Matt Frevola. He is fun to watch. I think he has too much power. His grappling's underrated. And I just think Fares is a little frail. I mean, yeah, he's never been finished by strikes, but god damn does Matt Frevola hit hard. I think Frevola will find a TKO in the latter half of the fight. Next fight up the card is Morgan Shire versus Gabriel Miranda. I'm going to be going with Morgan. Not a shocking pick. I think Morgan is just generally more composed and has a more well-rounded game. His striking has impressed me in his last few fights. and Gabriel he's a bit chinny. If it does end up on the ground and Gabriel manages to get to a good position, it could be pretty dangerous. I mean, 16 of his 17 wins are by submission, but I just don't see it getting there. I think Morgan's too composed. I imagine it will be probably a finish in the third round. Next up the card is Kevin Jousset versus Brian Battle. Now, I know it's been a year since Kevin fought, but I have forgotten almost everything about the man. I know his name, I recognize it, but other than that, nothing, nada. I know he's from City Kickboxing, and he's a rangy striker, and some people like him, but it's like my memory's been wiped clean. On the other hand, though, Brian Battle, I absolutely love Brian Battle. He has continuously impressed me throughout his career ever since Tough, and I just think he's gonna fucking, not necessarily dog walk, but kind of beat him up. I think he has the power to hurt Kevin, and I think he'll find a finish in the third round. Next up the card is William Gomez versus Joanderson Brito. Both of these guys are on really good win streaks right now. I think William Gomez is on a 12-fight win streak, and Joanderson Brito is on a 5-fight win streak. But with that being said, I'm going to go with Joanderson Brito. I think he's just too violent, too dangerous, constantly looking for a finish. And I think it'll be a tall task for William to be able to avoid that danger for 3 rounds or until he finds a finish of his own. And I just think Joe Anderson's too dangerous. Next up on the card in the co-main event, Nasruddin Imavov versus Brendan Allen. Now, I do not like Brendan Allen. Feel that needs to be said. I don't know what it is, whether it's his irritatingly small face or his annoyingly douchey attitude. And I think Nasruddin Imavov is an all-around better fighter. But somehow, I still see Brendan Allen pulling off some goofy-ass shit. I think in the later rounds of this fight, some silly scramble is going to happen, and Brendan is going to find a submission. And last, in the main event, Renato Big Money Moicano versus Benoit Saint-Denis. Now, I know that Benoit is a better fighter in the striking, the grappling, the wrestling. And by all logic, I should pick Benoit. But I'm going to go against my brain and go with my heart and choose Big Money Moicano. I don't think he'll be able to finish Benoit standing. I don't know if Moicano has that much power like Poirier, but I think he could maybe find a submission in the later rounds, and if not, I'm going to hold out for a decision win, a split decision win. And that is the last of the fights. If you stuck around this long, thank you for watching the video. If you managed to enjoy it somehow, the drill, like, subscribe, comment, all that bullshit. And yeah, as I said earlier in the video, this is my first time doing anything like this, recording, editing. I know nothing about it, not a bit. So if you have anything to say, please comment. Otherwise, that's pretty much it. So yeah, Godspeed, cunts.